Hello everyone. So, it is fall now. And since everyone and their dog is making these videos right now, I figured I'd make one too. And that's because a lot of people are giving you a bunch of misinformation. Either they work for a company and they're just trying to get you to buy their products, um, or they're just making it super complicated. It's crazy. So, we're just going to give you 5 best fall lures. And I will say this about fall. Fall is an amazing time to fish. You can catch biggins, you can catch a bunch, you can catch your PB in the fall. A lot of people don't really think too much about fall. They always think about spawn time and spring for that. But in the fall, you can catch some giants. So, with that being said, also, fall can be difficult to some people. A lot of people don't like fall fishing. They're crazy. But that's because it can really be junk fishing. I consider it junk fishing. So I'm giving you 5 lures, but be prepared to have others on deck. You can, you know, you can catch, you can find schools and catch them on like a bait. You find the right bait, you can catch quite a few on a school, whatever. But a lot of times it's 1 or 2 here, 1 or 2 there, switching baits, all different baits. You can catch lots of fish on different baits in the fall. So, 5 best lures here. We're going to start top of the water, down. Alright? So, top water in the fall can be amazing. I've already talked about my biggest fall tip is just find the bait. Find the bait jumping around on the surface, popping around on the surface. Find the birds. Find that school of bait. You'll find the bass. So, really, the pattern for fall most of the time is just follow those bait balls around. There's a lot of them. They're all pushed up shallow. You'll see them all over the place. Follow those around. You'll catch fish. But with them popping on the surface, topwater can be amazing in the fall. So I like to have 2 topwaters. So the first 2 lures are going to be topwaters. One is something that makes a lot of commotion on the water, more of a chuck and wind. The other one, more of a walking style bait. So first, whopper plopper. Now, I usually just fish the whopper plopper 75 or the 130. And really nowadays, I just stick with the 75 a lot. The 130 picks up with those big treble hooks on there, that it just picks up every piece of grass or every stick. It's a lot easier to get the 75 around cover, things like that. And also they engulf that thing. The colors that I usually stick with, white or black. And I'm just talking about belly color. Really on the whopper plopper, I don't think color really matters that much, to be honest with you, with all the commotion it makes. But white belly or black belly. That's pretty much it. Next, topwater is a walking style bait. Something like this. This is actually a Jenko. I don't even remember where I got this, but I actually like this a lot. But really, the bait that I personally recommend and I use a lot as a walking bait is just a good old Super Spook. Either the old Super Spook or the old Super Spook Junior. They're still around. They're classics. They're inexpensive. They're an amazing walking bait. They're still around and catch millions of fish for a reason. People sleep on the Super Spooks nowadays. Trust me, head and Super Spook, they're awesome. As far as colors, it's pretty much the exact same. A dark color and a light color. Now, let's move subsurface. Spinnerbait. You guys already know how much I love throwing a spinnerbait. Spinnerbaits and chatterbaits and jigs are my 3 go-to lures. I mean, I fish them all the time. But really, in the fall, I'm using a spinnerbait, not so much chatterbait. I have had great days on a chatterbait in the fall, but also great days on a spinnerbait as well. Whatever. But for me, the spinnerbait is just more consistent, better days, and really why this works, it imitates a school of fish a lot better with the flash, Looks more of like a school fish roaming around, as opposed to a chatterbait just looks like a single fish. Great thing about spinnerbait, to me, it's more versatile. You can fish it right below the surface, keep it over their head, or you can even slow roll that sucker through the grass really slow. So really a spinnerbait for me is a go-to lure for the fall. As far as colors, every time I'm throwing a spinnerbait, I'm pretty much just throwing white or white and chartreuse. And as far as blades, you can go with whatever blades you really like. Willow leaves will kind of more imitate a school better, but I've talked about it numerous times, I love Colorado blades. I just like the thump of those blades, so that's what I'll typically throw anyway. Next, as a underwater, whatever, subsurface technique, always got it tied on, is a square bill. Love square bills. Like I said, the fish in the fall are shallow now, so you don't need to worry about deep diving crankbaits, things like that. The bait's moving shallow, the bass ain't far behind them. Okay, so I love a square bill, running it through those schools of bait just below them. Really, a lot of times, like, you know, like this is, they dive about 3 foot. Okay, so you're in 5 feet of water, that school of bait's up top, those bass are underneath them. So you just run this sucker right between the two, get you lots and lots of bites. As far as colors, again, match the hatch. You're following the bait fish. You're catching bass that are eating that bait fish. So I say keep it natural, make it look like that bait fish. If there's shad in your lake, throw a shad color. Alright. If it's more bluegill in your lake, throw a bluegill color. Perch, whatever. I really just keep them natural. And also, really, a shad color, even if it's more bluegill in your lake, you still can't go wrong with the shad color. So I'll say if it's what you got, whatever. But I like to follow whatever the bait is. I like to throw that color, bluegill color. Well, here in Colorado we have shad in our lakes, some of them, but a lot of lakes and all that are more bluegill orientated. I've talked about this a lot too. But then some of them as well, meta fish and stuff, do have shad as well. So really can't go wrong with those two colors. Just match whatever the bait fish is. If the water is dingier, and I say this all the time, and you can again throw this anytime as well. I mean, I'll catch them on a color like this in clear water too. Sometimes they just really like brighter colors. So I think they just hone in on it more, so I like throwing the brighter colors a lot as well. Just a good old chartreuse black back, can't go wrong with it. Or chartreuse blue back, just something with that contrast. It's a big thing with crankbaits of any kind. I always find is the contrast of like dark back, light sides just seems to work really well. So, dingier water, throw that. Now, the last thing will be your finesse tactic. Always got to give you at least one finesse thing every time I do these, because you always need a spinning rod tied on with a finesse tactic. Okay? You just always have to have them around. Right now, in fall, a good old weightless Texas rig, stick bait, smaller size, like a 4, maybe a 5, can even go down to like a 3-inch, are great. In the fall, with all those schools of bait, there's a lot of little tiny bait, and the bass are feeding on those little tiny guys, just eating a bunch of them. So matching the hatch again, a little small stick bait can work wonders. It's kind of the same concept. Alright, you see those schools of bait, you throw this sucker in there, it slowly falls through that bait down to the bass, slowly fall, super easy meal for them. Just looks like a fish dying out of that school. Just super easy for them to bite, and you catch them. So those are really the top 5 that I constantly have tied on in fall. I'll see you guys on the next one.